Well, thank you everybody for having me so much. I'm so thrilled to be here. Now to start off, I have an open poll because I've got two different versions of this presentation. The first is I've got a beautiful, exquisite PowerPoint presentation with 7 bullet points per slide and pictures of people at work sniffing flowers and high-fiving. I'm gonna break you up into groups of 5. We're gonna talk about our feelings. Who votes for presentation number 1? Who votes for number 2 before they even know what it is? All right, let's do it. The reason I like to go to presentation number 2, which is more straightforward, direct version of how to be happy at work, is because the greatest skeptic of workplace happiness in this room than me. Reads a Time article or sees some special TED talk about how to be happy and play in drum circles and grow out your dreadlocks. Klaus goes, "Why are we talking about happiness at such a high level? It is not helpful, because if it does not make me more productive and fulfilled and happy at work, then it is just voodoo wellness scheiße." So today is not about wellness voodoo scheiße. Today is about things that I've found that actually work to improve our focus, to improve our energy, and to improve our teamwork. I've been in environments like First Key Homes before, because it's my understanding that you guys have grown extremely rapidly over the past year and a half. And I've found that startups that grow that quickly are a bit like 13-year-old teenage boys. Because you get too tall too quickly, and you're still a bit trim around the waist, and when we stand up that quickly, you get dizzy, and you're not really sure where you are. Then hormones start raging, and emotions start raging. My goal today is simply to give you 3 tools that you can use for the rest of your work lives here and beyond for being happier at work. So why is it that I'm up here? What brought me up here? Who got a little nervous reading the title of this talk and wondered, is this gonna be just another phony wellness talk? And then when they saw me, they thought, oh God, he's a millennial? Really? A 28-year-old coming up to tell me how to be happy at my job? Isn't that a bit like a Kardashian coming up and saying, here's how to be rich? It's like, how much do you really know? And that's what I admitted to myself. I have no idea how to be happy at work. That was me 3 years ago. I decided I was so excited to be at work, I actually left college early to join the workforce. I graduated in 3.5 years. That sounds smart. It's the dumbest thing I've ever done. Because I was in an environment where everything was paid for. I was surrounded by beer and babes. And I decided to leave that place to go sit in a cubicle. Dumbest thing I've ever done. Well, I started my first job at a company called Epic in Madison, Wisconsin. Has anyone heard of Epic? A couple people in the back. I'm actually shocked. There are people who lived and worked 20 miles from Epic and had never heard of it. But it's the Microsoft of healthcare IT. If you've been to a hospital and your doctor or nurse was looking at a screen, I put that information software there. That was my job. My first week of my job, I had to stand up in front of an office of 200 doctors, average age about 60, as a 22-year-old hyped up on caffeine, and tell them I'm about to change everything that they do every day. I'll never forget the moment that a pediatrician looked me dead in the eye and snapped a pen in half. That was how stressful my job was. And when you start a job and you're extremely stressed out and you can't keep up with your work, what do you really do? What do we really do? Do we meditate? Do we spend more time in the gym? Or do we drink a lot of Starbucks? Drink a lot of coffee, right? What effect does coffee have on our stress? It increases energy and stress at the same time. What do you think the impact of having a 5-hour energy shot and a Monster energy drink had on my workplace happiness every single day? Heading straight for burnout town, right? So, on my 25th birthday, I got an email from my mom while I was at work, and right away I knew there was something wrong. Because I had just got an email from her before, said, hey, I'm gonna call you later, happy birthday. And I got another email that started and said, Dear Chris and Greg. That's why I knew something was wrong, because Chris is also my uncle's name, her brother. So this clearly was an email not intended for me. The email said, Dear Chris and Greg, I'm not sure we're ready to tell the rest of the family yet, but Dad's dying. So my grandfather is my hero. He was the first man to cry in front of me and explain to me that it's okay as a man to show your emotions to people because it shows vulnerability. You're dropping your drawbridge. You let people in. He taught me all kinds of things about the power of life and being around people that enrich you. He was my hero. And here I was sitting at work, about to get some more work done, reading an email to hear that he was about to die, unexpectedly. And the most disturbing part of the story is not that I heard this news, it was my reaction to the news. I had no reaction to this news. I just archived the email and kept going to work, kept going through the rest of my emails. But then when I was driving home from work, I started crying so hard I had to pull over on the side of the highway. Something was seriously wrong with my brain. So shortly after my 25th birthday, I was diagnosed with acute clinical depression, a disease that the World Health Organization calls the most burdensome disease of the 21st century. And to battle this disease, I was given a $12 bottle of pills. Who thinks that these pills were effective? I bet some people in this room are taking Wellbutrin. It's pretty common. It's disturbingly common. But we need more than that. So I was doing some research one night, because that's what Germans do. We go home and we cry and then we research. That's how we de-stress. I did some research. I discovered that since 1988, antidepressant use in America has gone up 400%. How do you think our happiness has increased? Who thinks our happiness has even increased at all in that time? So here I was, given society's solution to apathy and depression, and we already knew it wouldn't work before I even took my first pill. So I knew I had to find a different solution. So I decided I'm going to study positive psychology. In these little pockets of free time I had at work, I was going to pull up books by heroes like Marty Seligman and Barbara Fredrickson, people studying the science of happiness. And using this stuff, I completely reversed my depression. I started spending more time in the gym, started having more enriching conversations with my friends. Using these little happiness hacks, as I call them, I was able to reverse my depression and become a superstar. It felt incredible. It felt like I'd saved my own life. While I was sitting around, Madison, Wisconsin is a beer town, so I was sitting around a beer table at a beer bar with my friends, my beer friends. And in Madison, Wisconsin, the unit of measurement for alcohol is not a little pint. No, that's not enough. Not if you work at Epic. The standard unit of alcohol is a giant glass boot. Has anyone had a boot before? Yeah, a couple people. Your hands are like, oh, I can't say this at work, I've had one. Yeah, so we're passing around the boot, and the rule, and you have to know this before you go to Wisconsin, the rule with the boot is you're never allowed to put it down. You always drink and pass, drink and pass. You drink a lot in Wisconsin. So, yeah, damn. So I drink the boot, and then, clack, I put it down. And all my friends turned to look at me. So they knew it was serious. I said, guys, I just want to share about 6 months ago I was diagnosed with depression. I think a lot of it had to do with the fact I couldn't deal with the stress at work. But I've been studying this thing called positive psychology. I feel like I've used it to save my life. The reason I bring this up is because I don't want any of you to feel like that was a reflection on you. If I was ignoring your texts, if I wasn't a good friend, it was me dealing with some internal demons. So I didn't want you to think it was any reflection on you. But I'm back, so that's all I had to share. And they went, oh, okay, great, and picked the boot back up. But within 2 weeks, every single one of the people at that table came up to me privately and asked me how I beat depression at work. That's when I knew I was really onto something. But I reached a crossroads because I thought, maybe I can add value to the world if I go traveling and understand this stuff on a grander basis and help other people just like me, and maybe just like you, who just feel apathy and low energy at work. Maybe that's something I could actually do full time. But then I thought, I've got student loans, I've got things to do. I should probably just sit down and shut up and get my job done. Well, that was when we had another death in the family. And this one didn't hit me quite as hard. Because this was my great-grandmother. She had pneumonia. She was 99 years old, lived in Atlanta. In fact, she was one of the oldest Facebook users in Atlanta when she passed away. It once took me 4 hours to teach this woman how to print a web page, and she figured out Facebook without any help. So she's on Facebook. We know she's passing away. I hadn't actually spoken to her in months because I lived 800 miles away. She didn't know anything about my depression, anything about my battles, anything about what I'd learned. When she passed away, she has 27 grandchildren and more great-grandchildren, so I wasn't expecting really anything. But I get this box in the mail. I open it. It's from my uncle. It says, Chris, Grammy left this in her will to you. She just said that you would know what to do. Right? Oh, thank you. Yeah. So that was when I knew I'd quit my job and travel and help other people around the world understand what it means to really be happy at work, happy and fulfilled. So I started my fiscally irresponsible millennial journey around the world, staying in hostels, traveling to cool places like India and Bhutan. Here are my 3 favorite things that happened to me. Because I go around, I asked thousands of people, what does happiness mean to you? What does happiness mean to anyone? Because in America, we haven't really got it figured out yet. So I got some cool answers. One of my favorite examples, when I travel, I'd like to create happiness too. I like to give instead of just take when I travel to these countries. One time I walked into the office of a large Chinese company, and who here has been to China? Did they act a little differently around you when they saw you? Did they act excited to see you for no reason? Yes. So in China, anyone that really doesn't look like them, they treat like the Easter Bunny. They're super excited to see you. So I got my picture taken 427 times in China in 3 weeks. But this time was different. So I walk into the lobby of this company, I've got my suit on, and the secretary she stands up and she sees me and she runs over and she's panicked. She just gives me a big hug. She's calling her coworkers over and they see me and they're like, and they run over and they give me a big hug and they're shaking my hand, they're taking pictures. And I feel like Brad Pitt, this is great. I'm gonna join this company. I'll just work here and this will be what I do. I'm just lobby man. Come, harvest happiness from me. But I can't figure out why they're so excited to see me, so they're hugging, taking pictures, and finally everyone goes back to work. The secretary, she says, we have to sign in. I sign in, she looks at me and she goes, I just wanted to say, thank you for making Facebook. So what would you say in a situation like that? You're welcome. You're welcome. She'll find out later. When real Zuckerberg shows up at that company, it's like, he lost about 1 foot in height. What happened to this guy? It's like, he's a short, skinny nerd. I'm a tall, skinny nerd. There's a difference. Second favorite. This is my favorite answer of all time to the question, what makes happiness? I was in Varanasi, India. I got in a tuk-tuk. Anyone been in a tuk-tuk before? Did you feel safe? No. Yeah, not at all. It's a death trap. It's like a motorcycle with like a dog cage around it, and you're supposed to ride in these things around India, which has some of the biggest potholes in the world. So, this is my impression of riding in a Rolls Royce. This is my impression of riding in a tuk-tuk. That for up to an hour. So I get in this thing, and I've been in hundreds of tuk-tuks before, so my chiropractor is, I've paid his 401k off. So I get in this tuk-tuk, I introduce myself to the driver, Sati. He's a slim guy, he's about my height, big guy. He's got a twirly mustache, he's got a polo shirt on, looks like it's about 20 years old, he's got flip-flops in the 90s that are beat to heck. The guy's not from Buckhead, is what I'm trying to say. But what I've found is that there's wisdom about happiness in life all up and down the socioeconomic ladder. I've talked to guys like Sati, I've talked to Fortune 500 CEOs, and I've found that the most wisdom is actually down here. It's interesting. I always ask. So I asked Sati, what does happiness mean to you? And usually I ask this question and people go, oh, that's kind of interesting. You study happiness? Okay, I'll think about it. This is Sati. So I'm in the tuk-tuk behind him. Sati's driving. I say, what does happiness mean? He goes, 2 things. Like, instant. And I knew the answer would be great. So what does happiness mean to you? He says 2 things. First is love. There's not enough love in the world, Chris, because so many people around the world just wait to receive love. But we forget that love isn't like money. It's an infinitely renewable resource that we can share all the time, and it never loses its value. So it's easy for me in the morning to say to my children and my wife, I love you. But I can't go a full day of driving without more love in my life. But I can't just wait to receive love. I have to go give it, and that feels just as good. He says, so I like to go to the Mother Teresa house in the Ganges River and pour soup into the mouths of people less fortunate than me. I listen to their story, and I tell them that I love them. Isn't that beautiful? I said, what's the second thing? He said, find a sexy wife. So, side note, I'm taking referrals. I accept referrals for sexy wives. The search continues. The third time is when I try to meditate on my own. Anyone try to meditate, mindful meditate on their own? Who does it every single day? Awesome, that's great. Who thinks it's way more hard than Huffington Post led on? Yeah, it's really hard. So I try to do it on my own. I set my timer. I set the Calm app. I set the, what was the other app? Who knows the other meditation app? Insight, that's one, yeah. None of them worked for me because I still had residual caffeine from working at Epic. Way too much stress. I panicked. So I decided I need to learn meditation from the Jedi Masters, right? I need to go straight to the cultural, mindful epicenter of the world, Mississippi. So I went to Batesville, Mississippi, where there is a monastery. Has anyone here heard of Thich Nhat Hanh? Anyone heard of the Dalai Lama? Everybody. So Thich Nhat Hanh, the Dalai Lama are roughly equal. So the Dalai Lama is to Tibetan Buddhism what Thich Nhat Hanh is to Vietnamese Buddhism, roughly equivalent. He just spends a little bit less time on CNN. Not a dig at the Dalai Lama, but that's just why fewer people know about him. So Thich Nhat Hanh started 3 major monasteries in America to spread mindfulness meditation. He started one in New York, he started one in California, he started one in Mississippi. One has to wonder he was just got some darts and threw them in a map of America. So I go to this monastery in Mississippi, and I pull up, and the monks have all come out to greet me, all 25 of them. They've got their robes on. They're expecting me because I'm going to stay there for a whole week. Oh, this is really beautiful. So I get out of my car. It's the dead of winter, so it's me. I'm 6'3". I've got my dark jeans on. I've got big boots on. I've got my leather jacket on. And I've got big, dark sunglasses on. So I step out, and this young monk looks at me. He looks back at the rest of the monks, and he goes, "Oh, look, Brother Terminator is here." So for 8 days, Buddhist monks called me Brother Terminator. So I walked up to him and I said, "Okay, yeah, I'm Chris." He goes, I had been messaging back and forth with somebody on the monastery side. I said, "Are you Brother Harmony?" He goes, "I am, but please call me Bro Harmo." So at the monastery, that's where I learned the value of mindfulness meditation. We don't really have time to go into that today. If I tried to explain mindfulness meditation for 10 minutes, it wouldn't do you any justice. But here's Chris Busch's mindfulness meditation exercise in the size of a tweet. Close your eyes and breathe. That's pretty much it. The other people who meditate in the room, they're like, yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, you could leave 900-word Huffington Post article. No, I could write that article. Close your eyes and breathe. Boom, done. Like, share. That's it. It's really hard, but there's not really much more than that. So as I'm traveling the world and discovering what I like to call these happiness hacks, little things we can do differently in our lives without changing our job or changing our spouse or changing our car, just little tweaks we can make in the engine to make everything run more efficiently. I found hundreds of these things, but what I want to share today are my 3 absolute favorites. So in a startup environment especially, what I've found is that there are invisible demons at work that are causing issues around the workplace. I call these workplace werewolves. And unlike traditional werewolves who like to swipe away at Van Helsing, these are invisible werewolves. And what they do instead to sabotage a workplace and sabotage you at your desk is they cause things like low energy, low focus, and low teamwork. I think everyone in this room suffers from one, maybe even all 3 of those. So that's what I want to address today. And we start with low energy. I think this one's the most pertinent because it actually has to do with lunch and how we handle lunch. Who's ever felt a dip in energy after lunch before? Everybody. Yeah, welcome to America. Yeah, the food coma, right? Who's ever let a food coma get them in trouble before? Yeah. I was at a client site when I was back working for Epic. We're preparing together for a presentation about 11 o'clock. We had a presentation at 1:30. So we're getting ready for the presentation. We got our notes together. We feel pretty confident about it. And we decide we're going to get some lunch. And one of my colleagues goes, hey, let's get some Five Guys. Yeah. It sounds so innocent, right? Yeah, let's get some Five Guys. Just hang out with Five Guys. So the only reaction to that is, yeah, sure. So we go to Five Guys, and I get a bacon burger, French fries. Y'all are acting surprised, like there's nothing else on the menu. That's all you can do. Oh, I should have gotten the salad, the shrimp scampi. No, that's all there is. Bacon burger, French fries, and a water, because I'm good. Because I take care of myself. Does anyone know how many calories, who wants to guess how many calories are in a bacon burger and French fries from Five Guys? 20,000, not quite that many. 1,200, bids at 1,200. Who wants to bid higher? 2,200, very close. 2,047 calories. So I'm at work with my colleagues. I eat enough calories to sustain a human for 24 hours and 18 minutes. I eat all of that right before my presentation. Yeah. You're probably thinking I went up there and just tanked and had low energy and showed my PowerPoint with people on it. I did not make it back to the client site. I got a food coma so bad that I had to pull over. Ever gotten a food coma that bad? Whew. Oh yeah. Honestly, it felt like I'd been shot by a poacher, right? So like some Australian guy, like Crocodile Dundee, is like, all right, see that there? That's the modern working professional. I bet if I can hit him with a tranquilizer from this far, I can ruin his whole day. I'm sitting in my car, I've got the food coma face, you know. I just need a minute. Need some water. No, not sparkling water. That's worse. Food comas get us in trouble. If you get a food coma, it can sap about 2 hours of productivity out of your day. So all of a sudden, plans you had at 5:30 after work, they're not happening. All because of how we treat lunch. I found the solution to the modern day food coma in Japan. Because, is anyone in this room Japanese? Has anyone been to Japan? A couple people. I noticed something very curious when I was studying the modern working professional in Japan. The Japanese modern working professional does not typically do much exercise. They don't really meditate. They don't really work humane hours. They have a staggering amount of stress. This is not the profile of a healthy, productive person. And yet, Japan has the lowest obesity rate in the world. 2% are 31%. And they're some of the most productive people on the planet. Tell me, does that make any sense? Is it their diet? White rice and pork? Really? That's just Japanese Five Guys. It's not that healthy. So what's the secret? What are the Japanese doing differently from us that gives them a lot of energy in the afternoon? Sustained energy to be hyperproductive. Does anyone know? It's not water. Sorry? It's not the nap. Japanese don't take as many naps as the Chinese. The Chinese consider workday naps a constitutional right, fun fact. No, the Japanese don't even nap. Any other ideas? Small portions. You're very close. The secret to the Japanese post-lunch productivity is something called hara hachi bun mi. That's a translation of a Confucian eating code, hundreds of years old, that roughly translates to the first 8 parts feed the man. The last 2 parts feed the doctor. The secret to the Japanese eating code is not what they eat, it's how they eat. The Japanese eat incredibly slowly, and they also stop right when they're 80% full, and they always leave room. Now, for a while, this hadn't really gotten to the rest of the world until Duke Integrative Medicine did a study in 2016 to investigate why this was such a fantastic phenomenon in their culture. And they discovered that indeed the human stomach is only designed to hold about 80% of the food that we like to put in it, because it needs the rest of the room for water and gas. So the next logical question becomes, how do I know when I feel full? Because how do I know when I feel 80% full specifically? And the answer is you already know, because your body tells you. But here's the trick. Your body tells you that you're full 5 minutes after you're full. So it's like you go to Costco and you fill up your gas tank, and the thing automatically clicks, so you're playing Candy Crush, and oh, okay, good. It's just like that, except it's 5 minutes late. So if you knew that if you went to the gas pump today and you were filling up your car, and you knew the gas pump wouldn't actually turn off until 5 minutes after you had enough gas, yeah, your car would explode. And you'd be, how differently would you treat that situation, right? So now that you know, your body can't tell you, can't click off until 5 minutes after you're full, how differently are you going to treat lunch tomorrow? Yeah. So you'll notice what the Japanese will do. Either they'll eat very slowly, or they'll eat lightning fast if they're busy. Then they'll just put their food down, they'll stop. And they'll just kind of sit there up to 5 minutes. And they'll drink some tea, drink some bubbly, which is my favorite. And then they'll wait, and it'll feel full. So that's my challenge for each of you. I was kind of hoping a few people would still be eating lunch as I was describing that, but it sounds like you guys already muscled through everything. So we're going to scrap that experiment. Too late, we're all getting a food coma. Thanks, Fresh to Go. Food coma to go. So instead, my challenge for you, my experiment for you tomorrow, group experiment, is eat as much as you want, eat as fast as you want. But if you start to feel like you're getting to fullness, just cut yourself off. Yeah. Maybe you're at 75%, maybe you're 85%, but cut yourself off and see how much better you feel in the afternoon. It's so simple. It's one of my favorite happiness hacks, Harahachi Bunmi, the 80% eating rule. Next, we move on to focus, because I think food coma and focus are highly intertwined. It's kind of a funny dichotomy in our brains, in our modern working brains, that when we feel we're at work, we can't really focus on anything. There's a lot going on. We have all the emails coming in. Our boss is calling. This millennial hates their home because they hate everything. And we can't focus. So how do we cure that? What do we typically do when we're running out of energy and focus in the middle of the afternoon? Caffeine. What effect do we, let's be honest. What effect do we really think caffeine is having on our focus? What effect do we think caffeine is having on our anxiety and our stress? Yeah, so I quit caffeine about a month ago, just as a personal experiment. I'm not trying to ride a high horse. So my energy used to be sinusoidal all the time. So I wake up and meditate, feel pretty good, and then it starts to dip throughout the day, so I just drink some caffeine. But then you crash from the caffeine, so you come back down, and eventually your whole day looks like that. And then if you eat 5 Guys, it looks like that. Does that look like an energy curve that we want to take to work every day? So if you quit caffeine, here's what happens. Suddenly, your energy goes like this. You think you're going to get caffeine, and you don't get it, so you get a little dip here. Oh, man. And then you don't drink caffeine again. It kind of dips a little bit. But then it goes like that. Isn't that interesting? So maybe you don't get these big spikes of productivity, but you get something much more consistent. And here's what happens over time. You quit caffeine, you're going to the gym, you're going to the gym, you're going to the gym, you're taking good care of yourself, you're sleeping, you're exercising, you're meditating. Suddenly your energy curve looks like that. So the high you used to get from caffeine, look at that gap. That's energy again, but let's talk more about focus, because who knows, pop quiz, the average attention span of the modern millennial, in seconds. It's definitely not in minutes, in seconds. Who wants to throw out a number? 6 seconds? You guys think really highly of me. Any other guesses? 6 seconds? 43 seconds. That's way too generous. No. It's actually 8 seconds. 8 seconds. That's the attention span of a millennial. Who wants to guess what the attention span is of a baby boomer? 3 seconds. Hours? 8 seconds. It's all the same. So that's part of the problem, right? Everyone in this room, by definition, you have this job because you're intelligent, you're educated, which means that your brain is a little bit like my Ferrari. Yes, I own a Ferrari. Your brain's like this Ferrari. And you take it to work, and you're getting up into third gear, right? You're going really fast, and then after 8 seconds, the wheel comes off. Ever been in a car where the wheel comes off? You know you don't want to be. You can probably picture what happens, right? All right, so thankfully, regain a little focus, the wheel, you can just get out, put the wheel back on, great. Okay, let's get back to work. And then 8 seconds, the wheel falls back off again. How much work are you gonna get done when your mental Ferrari's wheel falls off every 8 seconds? How much more work could you get done if your mental Ferrari, the wheel stayed on for just 12 seconds, or 20 seconds, or maybe even 2 minutes? How many higher gears could you reach in your mental Ferrari? Who here has heard of the phenomenon of flow? Really? So flow is a state of super focus that everyone in this room can achieve so long as they focus on something long enough. But if we're always drinking caffeine, if we're always defocusing, if we're always losing focus, we'll never actually reach that point. This is a superpower we're not even using. So what I want to give you guys today is a tool that you can use to ever increase the time you have before you lose focus again. This is a really hard one for me to find because I'm going around the world and I'm asking CEOs and CFOs and people like Sati, what do you do to gain focus? Most people didn't have an answer for that. That's just a worldwide issue. People can't focus. Thanks, Facebook. So to find this solution, I actually had to go back in time and study some of history's greatest warriors. We've all heard of the ninja, right? Before ninja went on missions, they did 3 things. They sharpened 3 things. They sharpened their swords, they sharpened their minds, they sharpened their bodies. 2 of those are pretty self-explanatory. But how would a ninja sharpen their mind before a mission? It's very simple. In fact, they used a very exquisite, ancient tool that I've brought with me today. It's called a pen. And everyone has a pen, so what I'd like you to do is pick up your pen. You're going to take the cap off so you have a fine point. And here's what we're going to do. This is the ninja meditation exercise for increasing focus. For the next 2 minutes, all we're going to do is hold this pen out about 3 feet from our face, and we're going to stare at it, stare at the very tip for 2 minutes. Think we can make it? No? All right. We'll do the best we can. Try not to blink too much. I'm going to set a timer for us real quick. Oh, you can blink. Please blink. Please blink. Everyone's going to go upstairs with bloodshot eyes. I'm like, what did y'all do in there? All right, setting the timer for 2 minutes. We're going to stare at the top of our pens, ready to go. If you find your eyes are darting away from the tip of the pen, that's okay. Just try to regain the focus. What we're doing is smoothing out rough edges. Who feels like this is the longest 2 minutes of their life? All right, halfway done. "30 seconds. wonder what someone would think if they walked in right now. All right, lower your eyes. Who found that their eyes were just darting around the tip of the pen and couldn't really focus on it for 2 minutes straight? It's okay, you don't have to admit it. It's tough. It's a tough exercise. But eventually you'll be able to get up to 3, 4 minutes. Who felt a little stupid doing that? It's okay, you can admit it. Yeah, it felt a little silly, right? It felt kind of stupid. If you think about it, you know what else feels a little silly? Who's been to the gym in the past week? Who's done weights in the last week? Yeah. So you go to the gym, and you look at yourself in the mirror because you're really beautiful, and you just do this. And you do this for more than 2 minutes. You're like, oh, I want to be good at lifting things. So I'm going to go to a place with a bunch of sweaty people, and I'm going to practice lifting things. Who thought that was stupid in the 1950s? Pretty much everyone. I want to feel healthier, so I'm just going to practice running. So I'm just going to run around my neighborhood. Who thought that was insane in the 1940s? Everyone. But it's only Wellness wurde Scheiße if it doesn't work. I really struggled with that style of meditation for a while because I found it worked for me, but I didn't talk about it on stage because there wasn't really any science to support it. Everyone was so focused on how great mindfulness meditation was, but no one was talking about the opposite, focus meditation. Until finally in 2016, a study in India found that by doing that style of meditation significantly increases selective attention, even more so than mindfulness meditation. I thought that was pretty powerful. So when's a good time to do that 2-minute exercise? About to do a presentation, about to start work in the morning, about to send an email, about to have a fight with your spouse? How devastated are they going to be when they find out that you have a focus superpower? Yeah, secret weapon, right? So that's ninja meditation, one of my favorite happiness hacks of all time. Finally, we get to my third and more complex happiness hack, because so far what we've talked about are happiness hacks that we can do on our own. And if we feel silly, we can do them in an office that's closed off. But this one requires other people, because now we're going to address the challenge of a lack of teamwork, a lack of morale in an office environment. I remember there were multiple times when I had my first job for 3 years that I desperately wanted to quit. I know it's really unlike a millennial to want to quit their job. I was stood out. I really wanted to quit. In fact, the number one time I was ready to just walk into my boss's office and say, I'm done. I'm burnt out. I worked 69.4 hours that week. I traveled to and from Reno, Nevada. Who's been to Reno before? It's not really the epicenter of joy and calm. It's not Batesville, Mississippi. It's Reno. So I'm in Reno. I'm burnt out. My client's tired. I'm tired. I fly all the way back, have a fight with my girlfriend. I get to the office. I'm just a dead body. I'm ready to quit. I can't do another week like this. So I'm sitting in an environment just like this, and we're going around. We're talking about the things that we're working on, my entire division, maybe 100 people. And my boss stands up, and she says, look, I just wanted to give Chris a shout out because I really appreciate what Chris did last week. He just worked really hard to make sure the client was happy, so I think he deserved a shout out. And then she started giving other people shout outs in the room. But the fact that she gave other people shout outs didn't dilute how great I felt for getting a shout out. So that afternoon, I didn't go into her office and quit. Isn't that strange? Because she didn't buy me Starbucks. There was no money changing hands. It didn't take her any time. Just a little pinch of gratitude inspired me to stay at my job for another 2 years. Isn't that crazy? Who here has read an article about the power of gratitude in the workplace? Right, everyone has. But my challenge with that is I've read hundreds of those articles, and they're all missing one thing. They don't really talk about why gratitude is so powerful. They just say, go do it. How do you think Klaus reacted to that information? But why should I go do it? You have not explained the neuroscience behind why it works. Here's the bottom line. When words of gratitude hit our ears, they convert audio into serotonin. We all know what serotonin is, right? Serotonin is more powerful for our morale, our happiness, and our productivity at work than all the caffeine that they sell at Starbucks. And that's what's so great about serotonin as a resource. It's not $6 for a grande. It's free. And just like love, it's infinitely renewable. I study a lot of the workplaces at the Fortune 50 best places to work. One thing they all have in common, they have a gratitude exercise woven into their culture. Gratitude there just flies like paper airplanes in every direction all the time because they know that they're just giving each other serotonin. It's like Oprah, right? Go to Oprah and just, you get some serotonin, and you get some serotonin, and you get serotonin. It's that easy. So I'd like to do a quick exercise together. Because I do, and Klaus even, believes in the power of shout-outs. So what we're going to do is completely change the neurochemistry between what we came in with and what we're going to leave this room with. We're going to give each other some free serotonin. Who in this room feels like there's something that they appreciate that their coworker did for them the past couple weeks? Who would be willing to share right now? Bring it on. Let's do it.
I don't know if she's in here. I think she's probably still upstairs. But I was supposed to say, hey, Joanna, I really appreciate you because you have helped me. She is here? Hey, Joanna! Because she really has helped me with my training and whatnot in the field of eviction. So I really do appreciate you. Thank you.
All right. How's that serotonin? All right. Let's give her a round of applause. First one out the gate. Thank you very much. And your name? Emily. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
This one is for Hey Sandy. I really appreciate you addressing our needs as a team because we get to work from home on Fridays.
All right. How about that? That's great. Yeah. Perfect. Who's next? Uno Mas?
Hey, Dana. I really appreciate how helpful you are and always being willing to listen to my ideals and being supportive.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Move yourself one up front. Oh, still one in the back.
It's for Jennifer and Elizabeth. Thank you for so much for coming on board and helping me with the vendor management. They are a lifesaver. They're always very nice, and they stop what they're doing, and they're always kind and respond. So thank you.
All right. One more up front. We'll do one more.
Hi. So I'd like to say, hey, Camellia. I really appreciate you buying me lunch yesterday because my card said decline. And I was hungry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not sure what happened with that whole situation. And
That's the bet.
one more. I appreciate you, Tristan, for always letting me bomb your charger.
Bomb or charger, her car?
Yeah, the charger, because I never had my charger for mine.
Oh, I was thinking like the charger of the vehicle. It's like you
Oh,
bombed her
no,
charger.
the iPhone charger. But I wouldn't mind driving your car. What kind of car do you have? I'll drive it.
All right. Let's give her a round of applause. That wasn't so bad, was it? Yeah, it's good. So, to wrap up talks, who here has seen a TEDx talk? They all kind of end the same way, right? They end with some kind of cool, meaningful platitude that kind of makes you forget about all the stuff in the middle. Like I heard one recently that really stuck with me. This guy comes out. I don't even remember what he's talking about. He comes out and he's like, all of life is a story. All of life is a story. Let's get this paragraph right. Thank you. And everyone's like, God, here's my cell phone number. Oh, God, yes. I don't really like to end that way because you guys have listened to me talk for most of this time. This is not a dictatorship, it's a democracy. So what I've shared today are just 3 of the happiness hacks, little things that you can do at work to be a little bit more happy and fulfilled at the job you already have. But I've only shared 3. And like I've mentioned before, I'm 28 years old. I don't really know much about this subject yet. I'm just learning as I go. What I'd love to happen now is for you guys to share a little bit with me and with your colleagues. What are some little things that you do at work you think everyone else could be doing to make things a little happier and a little easier? Does anyone have a happiness hack they'd like to share right in the back? Oh, sorry, away from the microphone, please.
It's really simple. It's taking a second to appreciate your small incremental victories during the day.
Awesome. Small victories. That's a huge one. Give them a round of applause. Yeah. Happiness hack right up front.
I like to make people laugh.
Easy. Yeah. Thank you. And one more. All right, Katrina.
If I'm really having a hard time focusing or writing something I need to write at work, I like to go and take a walk around the parking lot a few times and just let it simmer. And then when I come back, I usually have the answer that I'm looking for.
Awesome. Yeah, short walk. Yeah. I know I need to spend more time outside. I'm working on my tan. Why are you laughing? All right. Well, to wrap up, guys, I just wanted to share, I don't have some grandiose conclusion, but it's been my pleasure to share with you things that have changed my life at work. I hope you found something. Who learned something today? Who's going to do something differently after today? All right. That's awesome. I'm so glad it's been worth my time, and I hope it's been worth your time as well. I have 2 asks, actually. The first is that you go to the second page behind your handout. You've got a little evaluation form. You can tell me how much you liked me or how much you didn't like me. I accept both answers. So put some notes down there for me. It would help me grow and also help Katrina find some more amazing speakers. And lastly, I've got a book. If you want a book, come up, say hi. I'll sell you a book. That's all I have to share. So thank you guys so much for having me. I really appreciate it.